In part 2 of our styles video, we are going to be talking about alignment, profile, and profile view styles. If you remember from the last video, we discussed points and surface styles and some of the labels that are attached to the surfaces. So to start an alignment style, we're going to quickly draw a polyline, and again, I'll go over alignments in greater detail in another video. So I'm just going to quickly create an alignment from a polyline, hit enter, name it descriptively. We want a centerline type, never put an alignment on a site, always go none. We have two styles in here, we're going to pick one of them. Note the layer is going to a C-aligned main road. And our label sets, we got a few label sets here pre-set up. We'll just choose 120 perpendicular. We're not adding any curves, and we're going to erase existing entities. So I'm going to click OK. And as you see here, an alignment has popped up. We have a green alignment, green perpendicular ticks every 20 meters, and a stationing every 100 meters with a dot every 100 meters. So we'll quickly talk about alignment styles, and then we'll talk about the label styles attached to them. So before I go into that, I'm going to quickly modify my alignment and add in some curves so you can see what's happening. As you see here, my alignment now has a spiral curve in it. So going into alignment styles, so anything Civil 3D, you can select it, right click, and edit style. So I'm going to select my alignment, right click, edit alignment style. So we're going to take a look at the settings of this actual alignment. Under the information, this is the name of it. The design, we can enable a snap radius. Any markers, so we can add markers automatically to the end. We can add markers to the intersections if we want. And these can be a simple block. Or we can do another style under our general standard styles. And that'll be in another video, those general styles. Under the display, this is where we control how the alignment looks on plan view. So if you notice, everything here is green except for our line extensions. So these are all color 9. Everything else is by layer color green, which is what our C-align is. So default, this is on the parent layer C-align. If I cancel this for a second, click on my alignment. This is on C-align-main road. So our automatic layering has already sent it to the proper layer. Same with the labels. C-label-align-main road. Now to see things happen in real time, I'm going to edit this alignment style through the settings tab in my tool space. So I'm going to right click edit, and to show you the various options and what we can do, I'm just going to modify them in here. So my curve, which is the center portion of my alignment, we'll have tangent, spiral, curve, spiral, tangent. So I'm going to turn my curve pink, and I'm going to make my spiral blue. My line extensions, let's make yellow. And let's make them dashed with a line type scale of 5. So everything you'd set up in the layers prior is now set up through your styles box. So I'm going to hit apply, and as you see, my spiral is now blue, my curve is pink, my spiral going out is blue, my tangents are still green, so those are the lines, and my line extension here is yellow. So this is how you modify alignment styles. Generally, your CAD manager will already have these set up, but I'm going to quickly click OK, and I'm going to go into alignment properties. So say I've created this alignment and I've applied the wrong style to it. Well, any Civil 3D object along with the styles, you can right click and go properties, and you can change the style in here. So I'm going to choose EDDT alignment centerline, and I'm going to hit OK, and as we see, it's changed to the centerline line type. So let's take a quick look at these alignments, this alignment style. So again, everything's still green. Line extensions are gray. But the line type on this is using the center line type at a 2 line type scale, which looks quite big. So again, we can change that to 1. If we hit apply, it updates on our screen. To make alignment styles, we'll just right click new, and again, set up anything you want. Your CAD manager again will have these set up, but if you have to make your own, just right click new and fill in the settings that you want, and then you can set them up that way. So labels attached to our alignment. Now this is only one of the labels that we can actually attach to an alignment. There are probably 12 or so. These are called station labels and station ticks. So every 25 meters we're showing a little tick, so we don't have to put a big label on it. So if I select my labels, right click, edit alignment labels, and we'll come into our alignment labels dialog box. Now this is where we can apply various labels to our alignment. And then we can add more, we can subtract them, we can modify them. So if you look here, major stations, they're using 1 + 0, 0, 0 perpendicular. I'm going to change them to parallel. So I want 1 + 0, 0, 0 parallel. And I want them every 250 meters. And I want my ticks every 10 meters. So I hit apply. My alignment's updated now. So I'll quickly click OK. Now our major stations are every 250. And I have a perpendicular tick every 10 meters. So let's go back into edit alignment labels. And let's go take a look at the actual label dialog box. And I'll make a styles video on labels specifically, but they generally all look the same. You've seen this dialog box before. In this one we have a station text and a station marker. So you'll have to add both of those. The station marker is the little round circle underneath the label. You can see it better over here. And the station text obviously is the 0 + 0, 4, 0. So if we have to add another label to this, let's add geometry points. And again, I've set up 2 and 2.5 millimeter text. So keep things consistent. If you do 2, use 2 all the time. And I'm just going to click OK for all this here. And we'll click OK and see what pops up. So the labels that have popped up, we have our end of our alignment, spiral to tangent, curve to spiral, the midpoint of our curve, spiral to curve labels, tangent to spiral labels, and the beginning of our alignment. So all these labels are now attached to the alignment. If I move my actual alignment, they're going to move with it. So I'm going to go back into edit alignment labels. And we're going to add, let's add superelevation critical points. Now we don't have any superelevation on this, but this may add some labels. I may have to quickly add superelevation, just so you can see that there's a lot of stuff we can add to this. Now I'm just going to next. Finish. So we now have a whole bunch of super elevation labels. And again, clicking next that way is not the way to set it up, but to show you what they look like. The one last thing with labels is if you look up in here in the ribbon, there's a flip label command. Or if you prefer typing, label flip. So we can flip specific labels to the other side of the alignment. Again, to keep things consistent. You'll have all your super elevation on one side, all your geometry points on the other side. So again, these labels are the same kind of dialog box composer showing specific points, and we'll dive deeper into that in another video. So we've got our alignment styles. We briefly talked about the label styles. Let's create a quick profile here and discuss profiles. So when you're making a profile, how do we want to display the existing ground? So our surface is reading off the existing ground. I want to use our existing ground style. If you click OK now, it's just going to close the dialog box and you're going to get nothing. We have to click Draw in Profile View. So I prefer to name my profile the same as my alignment. Now, as you see here, I've got a whole bunch of profile styles set up. These are 10 times vertical, so every 1 meter vertical normally, it displays 10 times. These are just 1 times vertical, 2 times vertical, so every one is 2. And this one, every one is 5. So I'm going to use 10 times vertical, 100 meter station interval. Now, having a lot of profile view styles set up is not necessarily a bad idea, as there is a lot involved with them, and we'll look at that in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Create Profile View. And I'm going to drop it off to the right somewhere. So along this alignment, and remember this is in the city of Calgary through a gully, I believe, we have a profile of this. Now I'm going to move my alignment so it actually goes through over here. So I'm just going to select it. And if it lets me, just drag and drop it. So there's my alignment, goes through the actual gully now. Now this line here is attached to the profile via this alignment, and what it is reading off our surface elevations. So this is basically the side view if you slice a cake through where this alignment is going. Now, as you see when I click on it, I can't actually edit any grips, as this is a dynamic civil 3D object. So when we set up the existing ground style, this is the way it displayed. Gray dashed line. So if I right click, edit profile style, we'll take a look at a few of the settings. Information is where the name is. Under the design, if we want any tessellation distances. Again, we can add markers at various points if we want. Under the display tab, this is where we control how it looks. So basically the only thing I'm showing is a line. It's on C-prof layer, and it's appended with the dash star, so it's C-prof-main road. And it's a hidden line type with an LT scale of 15. So if I say wanted, we'll go 25, we'll make the dashes a little bit bigger. As you see, that's updated. So if we go 50, it's now updated. These last two, generally you can just turn them off. They're warning symbols and notifications. It lets you know if you've done something slightly wrong, but they also just appear and they will actually print. So just turn them off. The only thing we really need to show on this one is the line. We haven't drawn anything. We're just reading this off existing ground. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to quickly create a vertical profile. A design one. So say we're drawing a road through the bottom of this gully. I'm going to name it Design Ground. And I'm using the design profile, and I'm not adding any labels to it. So I'm going to start up here, and as you see, this one is now appearing as cyan. We'll come down here, and we'll see if this actually works. Come up here and go out. So it looks like we have a broken cyan line here. Now, if we right-click, Edit Profile Style, under the design markers, this is all the same. The display tab is where this one differs. So this one is, again, on C-prof, but a C-prof-design ground. It's cyan, it's continuous, and a continuous line, the line type scale doesn't matter. So where we're missing the information are circular curves. It's one of these curves. So we turned on symmetric parabolas, and that's what it was. And we can change the color on the fly. So that's a profile view style. Or sorry, the profile view style is the grid in the back. The profile styles are what shows up here. Now, again, say you did this as the wrong style. Right-click Profile Properties. We can change it. So if we want to go Bedrock, that appears different. If we want to go Groundwater, that appears different. And again, in all these styles, I've got the parabolas and the curves turned off, so they won't show up. So we can just turn it back on and go OK. Again, make these blue if that's what you're doing. Now onto the actual profile style, the profile view style. So over here is that same list we saw in the profile window when we created it. Let's take a quick look at some of these. Let's change this quickly. Profile view properties. Let's change it to 2 times vertical, 20 meter station interval. So what you're going to see this get a lot smaller. It's going to be about down here. And these labels down here should change. So we'll hit apply. We'll go OK. So these labels are now side by side each other. We'll change our scale so it's easier to view. And this has gotten a lot smaller. So this is the 2 times vertical exaggeration. So let's take a look at the settings for profile styles. So we're going to select our profile, right click, edit profile view style. Now this dialog box is a little more in depth than any of the other ones we've seen before. There's a lot going on to make a few simple little changes. So I'm going to quickly, instead of going through we'll stay in here. So the information is the name. Under graph, this is where you can set up the vertical exaggeration. So if I change this to 3, we'll hit apply. You saw this get bigger. We're going to leave it at 2. This current horizontal scale is just reading from down here. This custom scale, we'll just leave that. And which way do we want to view it? Do we want 0 to start on the left? Or do we want 0 to start on the right? Generally, we'll leave it left to right. Under the grid tab, this is where we can add various paddings to it. So do we want to pad it a bit? Do we want to add extra height above the profile? So if we add a little bit there, it makes it a little bit taller. Again, makes it a little bit taller. If we want to add any extra cells to it. So basically it gives us space on each side. Leave these settings alone. Always set these to 0 as it causes issues when you're printing. We can clip the grids if we want, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go under title annotation next. So this is where we control all the labels that are on the outside of the profile. So that would be the main row down here, the station text, the elevation text on the sides, and if we had a label up top, it would be that one as well, and elevation over here. So I'll make those a little bit bigger. And we're going to go back into the profile view style. So the title content is the label you see down here, main road. And all this is doing is reading off the parent alignment name. And we can do a few different ones in here. Drawing scale, graph view name, vertical exaggeration. Again, vertical exaggeration may be a nice label to have in there. So I'll just add it in. We'll hit OK. And it came up vertical exaggeration of 500. So it looks like I selected the wrong label. I went vertical scale, not vertical exaggeration. So I'll change it to the proper one. Hit apply. And this is vertically exaggerated by 2. Change that to say vertical exaggeration. And now main road vertically exaggerated 2. This is where we want it located, bottom, center, any offset. So if we change that to -20, it's going to drop it down a little bit further. If you notice over here, we have bottom, right, top, left labels. So as we select these, the information down here changes. So along the bottom, I have station now. So if you see right here, there's a little station. This label controls down here. These two control the elevation and different offsets. And I don't have a label at the top showing. There is one that says station, but I have it turned off. Under the horizontal axis, so these are the stations at the bottom of your profile. These ones are set to 20 meters, intervals, major, tick size of 2, text height of 2, the tick label text, and again, same dialog box as all the other labels. We can add station values. There's only a few in here we can add, but it's reading off the station value and it matches along with your alignment. Here's your text style. If we want to rotate it, we can. So if I rotate it 15 degrees, it skews them all. Now onto the minor ticks. So I have these little red ticks every 2 meters. Again, you can change it to whatever suits your liking. If you want 5, if you want 10, if you want 2. And as you see, it's updated as I've hit apply. The tick size of 1, justification center, and there is no text attached to this one, so this we don't need to worry about it. I've got it turned off. A text style if you want. Again, the same rotation. Any offsets. So if I offset that by 15, that's purely for the text. It didn't do anything. And any horizontal geometry ticks. Now, we don't show any of these on here, so I'm going to ignore that. Now, if you notice here, there's a top button as well. Again, if you want to show ticks and stations at the top of your alignment or profile, match these settings to the top box. Now, I don't, so there's no need to set this one up. Under our vertical axis, so I'll go over so we can see it. We'll edit profile view style again. There's a left and a right. So if you make changes on the left, make sure to change it on the right so things are consistent. So my major tick details are set for 5. I'm going to change it to 10. So now there's a major tick every 10. Or major text every 10. If we went 20, we'd space it out to every 20. Minor tick details are every meter with a tick size of 1. Now, if you noticed, these lines did not change. They're still every 5 meters. If we come over here and change this to 20, they have now removed themselves. So again, replicate things between left and right sides so they accurately show what you want. And these dialog boxes are the same as the ones before. Change the same settings. Now we get to the display tab. So under the display tab, there's a whole lot of options for us to change. We can turn our graph title. We can control stuff with the left axis title, the annotation, so the labels, the annotation minor, and I'll show you that in a second. Left axis ticks major and minor. Now we get to the right axis. So if I turn that off, it's gotten rid of my green line. I can turn it back on. I can turn off the title if I want. Annotation major, so this gets rid of all my labels. Turn it back on. Annotation minor. So if I had the thing set up properly with text, there would have been little pieces of text all over the place. Right axis ticks major and ticks minor, so I can turn the ticks off if I don't want them. We can turn it back on. We can control stuff with the top axis. We can control items with the bottom axis. And we can turn our grids, we can turn the grids off completely if we want. There's the horizontal major. If I turn the horizontal minor on, every meter or 2 meters this is set for, it's going to draw another line. Same with the vertical minor. Put the line every time we have a vertical tick. And again, you can control the color of these. So if I set that to color 1, set the majors to color 1, it changes the colors of it. So you will definitely have to modify colors in your styles. unless you want to set a layer up for every single option in here. So majors, we'll make color 8, minors color 9. We're not showing minors, but if we did, they would be a lighter color. Now, gridded horizontal geometry point. This is directly attached to your alignment. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. And as we see, it's drawn a few cyan lines along here. So we have the end of the the start of the alignment. The end of the alignment is going to be the cyan line over here. And then this will be the beginning of our spiral, the end of our spiral, beginning of our curve, end of our curve, beginning of the spiral coming out, and then the end of the spiral. So those directly correlate with our alignment over here. And if we zoom in and start of tangent at 834.505, we can zoom in over here at 834.505. So those correspond back and forth. So we'll go down, we'll shut them off. And we can display annotation at all the geometry points. Now I'm not sure if I have this set up. I do. So this will give a station or whatever at all those geometry points, whatever we tell it to. We can add ticks if we want. We can put the stations and ticks at the bottom. And then there's grid at sample line stations. So this is when we're getting into the sections. If we sample the road every 20 meters to create a cross section of the road every 20 meters, we can put this on the profile as well. So the last thing we'll take a look at is under the summary tab. So this basically shows everything quickly in more of a sort of an Excel based format, and we can actually change things right from here. So if you prefer to do everything from here, you can do that as well. So here's our parent alignment name, text style, text height. Let's change that to 4. See if we can see that update. So as you see, that's gotten a little bit bigger and it's collapsed everything here again. So everything can be edited through here as well, the last summary box. And most dialog boxes are like that, but sometimes it's easier to see kind of what is going on. So that's profile view styles. One last part of profile view styles is your band styles. So what bands are, they're an extra cell at the bottom of your profile that displays information pertaining to what's on your actual profile. So let's go and add a band to this and see what it looks like. So under profile view properties, where we just clicked next earlier, there's a tab for bands. We want to add profile data. So what we're going to tell it to do is read off our design profile, read off our existing profile, and give us some elevations down there. So I'm going to add that. My profile 1, I'm going to make a main road. And we'll leave all those selected. We'll see what happens. I'm going to click OK. Profile 2 over here, we'll set to design ground. We'll hit apply. We'll hit OK. Now as you see down here, we have our existing ground and our design ground. Generally, design ground we show in darker colors. Existing ground will show in lighter colors. So when we print this, this is going to print black, the one on the left. The one on the right is going to print gray. So we've set those up incorrectly. We can quickly change that under profile view properties. My profile 1 is going to be my design now. Profile 2 is going to be existing. So hit apply, and as you see, those numbers have changed. So that is alignment, profile styles, some profile view styles. Again, all those defaults, I had a bunch of defaults set up. They can be changed under the commands. So under the create profile view, this is where you can set up the default styles. So my marker style is going to default to standard. My profile view style, the default one in the dialog box, 1 times the vertical, 20 meter station interval. Now all of these can be changed to suit your liking and whatever you use the most. Same with your profiles. Create profile from surface. All the defaults are in here. My default styles is going to come in EDD blank. My default profile is design profile. Again, we can change this to existing if we want. So when we make this, the default one is going to be our existing style. So that was part 2 of styles, alignments, and profiles. In the part 3 video, I'll take you through a bunch of labels, label styles, how we set them up, the different options we can add, and potentially some of these general styles, some of the multi-purpose ones. So we have markers, feature lines, but if we notice under every section, point, label styles, surface, label styles, parcel, label styles. So we'll go over that in part 3.